The Alldus podcast is brought to you by Alldus International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our ServiceNow series, where we interview the best and brightest of the industry to share their story, advice, and views on the exciting world of ServiceNow and digital transformation.
Hello, welcome to the Alldus podcast. As part of our ServiceNow series, I am interviewing Travis Toulson, and my name is Mark Kelly, Chief Customer Officer at Alldus International. Travis is a Senior Architect at CodeCreative. Travis, thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mark. It's great to be here.
Travis, before we jump into some of the work that you're doing with CodeCreative, tell us a little bit about your journey to now and how you actually got into the world of ServiceNow.
Yes, I've been on the platform for about 11 years at this point, and I got my start basically through a steel mill. So I actually started out in the Marine Corps as a mechanic and worked largely in manufacturing and production after that. But I kind of had a knack for just computer stuff in general. I started getting into some of our back-end databases because I'd find credentials on the file share and use that to get into the database, and eventually made the crossover to IT.
Really interesting background to actually move into this area. When you look at some of the work in ServiceNow and the application, why do you think it's the digital platform of choice, and what does it offer that its competitors doesn't?
Yeah, one of the things that I love about ServiceNow is just how easy it is to create business functionality quickly. A lot of more traditional development, you've got to worry about dev environments. There's a lot of moving pieces and parts. And with ServiceNow, you just don't have to manage any of that, but you still get a lot of the same flexibility that you would otherwise get with the traditional environment. There's still so much that you can build. And just as a platform, it makes it so easy to get that business functionality stood up quickly.
When you look at some of the applications and some of the ways that it can add value to customers, can you tell us a little bit about some of the projects that you've worked on in the past, maybe some of the industries and some of the learns that you've had within those projects?
Yeah, one of my favorite projects that I've worked on was the state of Tennessee. And with them, we were implementing some of the SNAP TANF benefits that help people that are in need in the state. And they started out without any major digital presence for submitting these applications for assistance. And we really quickly had to stand it up for them. I think we had 3 days that we had to stand up that functionality. And as someone has been on those benefits in the past, it really was an opportunity for me to give back and pay it forward a little bit and help other people out who are in that same situation. And being able to stand that up on the ServiceNow platform was just a really great opportunity. And it really did a lot for the state of Tennessee and for the citizens there.
It's inspiring to see the impact that can have, and people going into work each day, they all just want to make a difference, and it can be a challenge to make an impact like that day to day. But even just knowing that the work you're doing is going to add value to different people, and it's one of the inspiring things I speak to who work within ServiceNow, is that they can see how efficient and optimization is so important for the work and the results of the application of the platform. Can you see any new innovations coming down the line that inspire you, particularly around some of the acquisitions about AI companies recently with ServiceNow?
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of movement in, not necessarily with some of the AI specifically, but in the supply chain and logistics spheres, manufacturing. Again, my background, I started out in that space. So I really like some of the operational technology stuff that ServiceNow is starting to bring into play, where they're looking at integrating with PLCs and some of the computer systems that sit closer down to the machinery level. And I think there's a lot of opportunities on that side of things. And then also some of the integrations they're starting to bring into play with SAP. ServiceNow is really well positioned to kind of orchestrate both sides of that ball for manufacturing. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for cost savings and automation in that space.
I think the cost savings and automation in that space could add significant value. If we kind of change gears a little bit, tell us about CodeCreative and how you got involved and some of the work you do.
Yeah, so CodeCreative started out back in about 2015 as just an extension of the community service efforts that I've done with ServiceNow, working in the ServiceNow community space and such. So published a blog articles, published videos, and have done some live streams to really help people fast track their careers. And more recently, I have transitioned CodeCreative into my business as an independent consultant. So I've been doing implementation services, custom app development, and service portal development largely.
You are listening to the Alldus podcast. When you're looking to scale your team, or if you are interested in showcasing your company in a future episode, reach out today. Or if you're in the market for a new role, visit our website to view open positions, www.alldus.com.
So you undertook a big project within salary surveys. And for people who've been involved in salary surveys, I know they're a pretty big task. Tell us a little bit about what got you interested in this area and some of the findings that you came about.
Yeah, so really there was just a lot of questions in the community about validating some of the existing numbers in the market that had been published and seeing, hey, what is my value? There's a lot of conversation around what is my value in the space. And so I saw an opportunity to not only ask that question, but also ask questions about what contributes to the value, what behaviors or choices, are there certain certifications, and really just dig into some of the finer points of what builds up your value.
And you had some interesting findings in terms of some people might expect this, but others may not. Tell us a little bit about that. And from that, advice that you'd offer to employers and also people on the job market.
Yeah, so I was really surprised that a lot of the things I expected to matter, certifications, what your specialty was, I really expected more of the technical aspects to have a larger impact on compensation. You think about this as an engineering discipline, so you expect highly skilled engineers to be the high earners. But in reality, it seemed that your relationships and your professional network mattered far more. It was really interesting because there were groups of really highly talented engineers that were towards the middle to upper lower income range, but they were very deep in integrations. They were very deep in a lot of the more technical aspects of ServiceNow. And it was really surprising to see this group of people on the mid to lower end of the compensation spectrum. And where they differed from their similarly situated peers that were on the high end was those relationships, was the strength of their network. The old, it's not what you know, it's who. So that was really interesting to discover. And I guess if I had any advice for employers, my advice would be look for those engineers that have those high skills, but might be being overlooked. Those folks that are really putting the work in and they have the depth of knowledge, but might be being overlooked because they don't have the deepest professional network. So my advice for job seekers would be to reach out to people, connect with people, build that network, and don't be afraid to ask questions because the more information you have, the better.
So in summary, we're saying the figures didn't usually surprise you what was out in the marketplace, but what was particularly interesting was how it could be easy to overlook some of the employees that you have that could be cross-trained over into ServiceNow who've got high potential, but also for job seekers who may not look outside of the box in terms of different types of opportunities with people they don't know, to reach out, engage, have different conversations, and do a little bit more research on the market to see your worth. And for people who are diligently generating certifications and working hard, if you could complement that with some networking, then you'd put yourself in a very strong position.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Travis Toulson, Senior Architect at CodeCreative, thank you very much for your time today. In today's podcast, Travis has talked to us a little bit about his journey to now, how he got into the world of ServiceNow, previously worked in the Marines. We talked a little bit about CodeCreative and its vision and some of the work that it does and the importance of community and adding value there. Travis gave us a little bit of an overview about the salary survey that he got involved and generate extra reports and information on, and some of his findings from that. And from that salary survey, it was clear to see that you couldn't be fantastic skills and generate a lot of certificates, but unless you're actually doing that, networking and reaching out and talking to people, you may not be paid the highest amount of salary, where people who are more skilled at networking and building relationships to work on different projects, they're probably going to a higher level of salary, but may not have the different certifications to match that as well. So all really good advice from Travis. How can people reach out and find you and build a relationship with you?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me on codecreative.io and also on the SN Dev Slack, just at TL Toulson.
Travis, thanks again for your time.
Thanks a lot, Mark. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.